back to our part 3 of our 4-part series that focuses on supporting mental health and well-being for undocumented Bruins in collaboration with UCLA Rise Center and Undocumented Student Program. Some of the questions that we have right now is being a member of a mixed status family differs greatly from the undocumented experience. Can you describe the unique challenges and worries you faced as a member of a mixed status family? Have you been able to talk about these worries with others?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to this experience. So I'm part of a mixed status family. I was born in the United States and so was my sister, but my parents did move here and they have really struggled with citizenship since they've been here just because of, politics and stuff. That has been really difficult just because I'm always afraid of family separation. We see a lot of it in the news, especially now, and it can be really traumatizing to see some of these videos online that, you just see so many families crying, just, kids who are left with no one. And I can totally relate to that, even though I'm an adult now, with a little bit more power and means of survival, I guess. When I'm growing up, because I was always like afraid, like I couldn't talk about this at school with my friends. Now I feel more comfortable just because I feel like I could navigate the situation a little bit better. But yeah, it's always just feelings of like, like it sucks, but you also don't want to complain about it because you are like happy at least that you're not the person who's going to be taken away. And I don't mean that like, like it can be kind of scary. I think it's more scary to be the person taken back to a country that, you escaped for specific reasons. And yeah, I don't know, it's really scary. It's uncertain. It's sometimes hard to talk about too, because you don't want to talk about it with your parents because, they sacrificed so much to come here and you don't want to sound like ungrateful. So I think finding a community to talk about that is challenging because you're also putting your family at risk when you talk about that stuff. So it can be difficult, but I think with time, like you'll kind of be able to read the rooms better, and hopefully, with videos like this and more educational materials, people can learn to empathize more instead of, you know, blaming immigrants for not being documented or, something like that.
In my experience, so I am also from a mixed status family, but I am the only sibling who is undocumented, because I was the firstborn. So in my situation, I think that in talking about like education and opportunities, I often find, like my parents sort of comparing me to my siblings. And that comparison has sometimes caused issues in our family where um, my parents want to compare me and say like, oh, Metzli, she's doing it, but she doesn't have the same opportunities that you have. You shouldn't, take them. You shouldn't just like go day by day. Like you should be more like your sister. Like look at your sister. Your sister's so resilient. Your sister has done so much. And I think that could cause issues like in a family and within siblings. And it also just puts a lot of pressure on me. I think a lot of pressure as just simply being the older sibling and having to be an example, but also pressure of like just expecting more of me. I want to be able to help my mom who is also undocumented, and so it's an issue because I can't necessarily do that. And so when trying to seek help, and it's a hard conversation, it's associated to a lot of trauma and a lot of hurt that we're just not ready to talk about as a family.
I definitely empathize with both of y'all on that. I definitely hear you. The even the thought of family separation, just my heart goes to my stomach. Just even thinking about that, it is really the worst nightmare for the for mixed status families, as well as that pressure that Mesley was saying. I do see that a lot within families, which it shouldn't. Like parents shouldn't be comparing us, but from their point of view, they want to take advantage of all opportunities. But the way it comes off. So our next question is, what has been your family's biggest source of joy during difficult times?
For my family, it's just always hope. I think that we've been in a lot of situations where things were very close of a call and somehow we just escaped out of it fine. My community is super like Latinx. Like the population's like 96% like Hispanic, right? So it's very much a bubble, which creates community, but it is also an area where a lot of ICE rates happen. And I think that my family has always been in situations where like they were really in danger, and like family separation was truly something to worry about. But I think that a lot of the members in the community like do the best to warn people to avoid certain streets or help them like get out of certain situations. So I think it's just always hope that somehow things will work out, even though things are super uncertain. I think that hope is like very stable. I think unity in general is like really helpful during these times.
I think for me, it's also that sense of community and that sense of unity. But more specifically, so I have two sisters, so it's three of us, and then my little brother, he's the youngest. And we always tell him that he's like the little sunshine of the house because he's the one that notices everything. He's always saying, "Good morning, how are you? How was your day?" After a long day of work, he'll peek into my room and just like go and hug me or just tap on my shoulder and like give me like water or something like that. And it's just really sweet. And he's been the one, we tell him, "You're like the little man of the house, and you hold us together." Because he really has brought a lot of joy into our house, and he makes us laugh all the time. So yeah, I give the credit to my little brother on this one.
Definitely, I really do love the idea of the hope and the joy that comes out of families, because even in times of despair or whatever this system or political administration tries to put on us, that community, that family, that hope is what really gets us going. Honestly, without them, I think they're our strength throughout these times. So the next question I have for y'all is: navigating citizenship status can be difficult and overwhelming. What should students know about supporting their undocumented family members emotionally, financially, etc.? Are there any recommendations or resources students should know about?
Yeah, navigating citizenship is confusing, and I think we all know why. Policies are always changing. Our community is always being threatened by like, people in office. And so that can be kind of hard, but I kind of just want to share about like my personal situation. Since like I think every like student who is part of a mixed status family who's like the documented one knows that at 21 is really when you can start doing stuff about it. And it's really hard because you have to wait so long, and that's like 21 years of worry and uncertainty. But I know when I was about to be 21, my parents and I started to really gather as much money as we could to talk to attorneys and stuff about our situation. Before that, I did reach out to some of the UCLA resources for that. I know we have like legal services, which really helped me because there's just so many types of documents and visas that you don't know about just on your own. It's something you have to really learn. And that really helped me make sure that my parents were going to be safe during all of this, because it is kind of a worry that you're exposing more of your parents' status while you have to eventually reach citizenship. um, but yeah, it was really great. I think we're in a great place now. Things have halted because of COVID, and that is really frustrating. But my parents finally got like their work permits. My mom got like a visa and I'm sorry, her green card. And there was a mistake on it, so we had to send it back. And then COVID happened, and we haven't gotten anything back. So that's a little bit frustrating. So I think just one thing to keep in mind, that right now things are a little bit more challenging just because of the nature of the world. But it doesn't mean that you have to stop preparing. It is a costly process too. So if you can, save money. I know it's difficult. I had to have like 2 or 3 jobs at one point to be able to save that much money, but it is possible. There is a way to support them. Just make sure to communicate with your family to understand what they need from you and how you can help them.
In my situation, we don't have any news quite yet, but I also had a similar experience. So I wanted to really quickly let you all know, let all UCLA students know that you have access to legal services. This is absolutely free, which is a huge plus because for those who have previously maybe tried to speak to an attorney, the initial consultation can be $100 alone. But as a UC student, regardless of whatever UC you attend, you do have access to legal services. And through this service, you are able to bring in an immediate family member. So I did have the opportunity to go for myself and renew my DACA, but I also brought in my mom for a consultation and to sort of see what her options are. And that also really helped us because that led us to speaking to another lawyer. And for those who are in the process know that sometimes you need to speak to more than one. And then you sort of like pick and choose what lawyer you want to stick to. But definitely the legal services at UCLA are amazing. There is also funding. For example, if you need to renew your DACA, but you are a low income student, then there is funding that'll pay for that renewal fee.
Thank you all so much for sharing. As we can, just feel from the power of your stories, it can be really challenging to have a bit of a fringe identity in relationship to the larger, environment that you live in and even within your family. And it makes sense that there's so much pressure that our Bruins do hold as they try and navigate their own lives into this academic environment while also helping and supporting their family members and navigating all the complexities that holds. And so I just wanted to speak a little bit to that feeling of pressure and what happens when we experience pressure. Pressure is this, it feels like this thing coming from the outside, but it also lodges itself in our bodies. And so, I want to invite, any listeners who are here right now to see, like, how does pressure feel for me right now? As I tune into my own body and sensing the kind of pressures that I have in my life right now, I can feel my heart racing. My stomach is a little bit fluttering. I have a little bit of neck pain and shoulder tightness, and my jaw is definitely a little bit tight as I, feel frustrated with a lot of things that are happening in our world right now. And no doubt many of us in our bodies are carrying similar types of reactions that happen when we go into fight, flight, freeze, or faint response mode, which are survival and coping mechanisms of our nervous system in our body. And so when, we become locked and a little bit hopeless, it's important to recognize that, because one of the beauties of our biology and of who we are as human beings is that we are one of the only mammals in the world on the planet that can actually consciously generate hope in our bodies. We can generate positive emotion by shifting our focus to something that delights our senses, that brings joy to our heart, that nourishes our body. So I want to invite you, as we navigate this time, the really tumultuous election season that we're in, the uncertainty with COVID, and the racial liberation that hopefully is going to be coming through in our world as we navigate this time, that it's so important to take a pause and to generate hope again in your body. And we can generate hope in really simple ways, just by slowing down our breath and letting it go a little bit deeper into our lungs and feeling the aliveness that our body is. No matter what shape or ability status our body holds, that we are alive, and that is a gift. And to tune into that, and to also remind ourselves through our mind that, yes, I have a dream and my dream is important and it is valid. And so to remind ourselves that I can do this. I'll take it one step at a time. And when we feel pressure, the pressure to not stop, the pressure to keep going because things are time sensitive, there's a lot of these external pressures. But I want to also remind us that it is okay to rest, and you have permission to rest and to stop and to ask for support, whether it's from your family member to say, hey, I'm just not feeling well today. I need to take a break from this process, or to reach out to a campus member who is on your side, who is an ally to you, to say, hey, can I talk? I just need to get this off my chest, or I'm feeling a little bit hopeless today. What do I do? So just know that it's really normal to feel hopeless at times, and that you have the power to regenerate hope in any given moment. And that it's okay also to remind yourself that there are things that I can control and there are things that I can't control today. And so I'm going to focus on the things that I can, and I'm going to release what I can't, and trust that life is for me and that there will be a path as I take my next step forward.